forest of Black Hollow had always been a place of quiet mystery. Towering pines stretched endlessly toward the sky, their needles whispering in the wind. Locals swore the forest was alive, not just with animals, but with something older and less forgiving. Nobody dared to enter after sunset, for that was when the forest stirred in ways no one could explain. On a chilly autumn evening, Sarah and her brother Jason decided to test the legend. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they trekked deep into the woods, laughing off the warnings of the townsfolk. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of amber and violet, but soon even that light disappeared, swallowed by the thick canopy above. The deeper they ventured, the quieter the forest became. The usual sounds of chirping crickets and rustling leaves faded into an oppressive silence. It was as if the forest was holding its breath. Sarah paused and looked around, her breath visible in the growing cold. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Jason frowned. "Hear what?" Sarah tilted her head, straining to listen, and then she heard it. Faint, almost imperceptible whispers. They didn't come from any single direction, but seemed to surround them, threading through the trees like an eerie breeze. "Maybe it's just the wind," Jason offered, though his voice wavered. Sarah wasn't convinced. The whispers weren't random. They formed words, faint and disjointed, but words nonetheless. She caught fragments. Help. Lost. Return. As they pressed forward, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. The path ahead forked unexpectedly, and at the split stood a weathered signpost. One arrow pointed left, marked Cedar Trail, and the other pointed right, marked Return. But the return arrow was scratched, as though clawed by something desperate. "We should turn back," Sarah said, gripping Jason's arm. "This doesn't feel right." Jason hesitated. His flashlight flickered, casting strange, shuddering shadows on the trees. "We've come this far," he said, though his confidence was slipping. "Let's just see what's down the return path. If it looks bad, we'll go back." Reluctantly, Sarah agreed, and they took the right-hand trail. The moment they stepped onto it, the temperature dropped sharply, and the forest seemed to close in around them. The trees were no longer just trees. Their gnarled branches twisted into grotesque shapes, clawing at the sky. The whispers grew louder now, almost deafening. They overlapped and interwove, creating an incomprehensible cacophony. Sarah clutched her ears, but it didn't help. The voices weren't just in the air. They were inside her head. And then they saw it. Ahead, in a small clearing, stood a cabin. Its roof sagged under the weight of moss and decay, and its windows were black voids. Yet, from inside, a faint light flickered, casting an unnatural glow. The whispers coalesced into a single chilling phrase: "Enter and be free." Jason stepped forward, but Sarah yanked him back. "No, don't," she pleaded. "We shouldn't be here." But Jason seemed entranced, his eyes fixed on the cabin as if it were calling to him. He shook off Sarah's grip and moved toward the door. The closer he got, the more distorted his features became, as though the cabin's light was warping him. Desperate, Sarah grabbed a nearby branch and swung it at her brother, knocking him to the ground. He groaned, blinking as if waking from a trance. What happened? He stammered. Before Sarah could answer, the cabin's door creaked open, and from the shadows stepped a figure. It wasn't human. Not entirely. Its elongated limbs moved unnaturally, and its face was obscured by a veil of writhing shadows. It pointed a crooked finger at them, and the whispers turned to a single, deafening scream. Sarah yanked Jason to his feet, and they bolted back down the trail. The forest seemed alive, roots snaking out to trip them, branches clawing at their clothes. The whispers chased them, growing louder with every step.